All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What's What BR. Today we have Dr. Samantha Gulino from Magnolia Pediatrics. Dr. Gulino, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, keeping up. And as I've been saying on all the shows, we couldn't have asked for better weather, during all of
Absolutely.
this. It's the kind of weather I described. I tell people I'd write a check for weather like this.
It's been a huge blessing.
So I imagine flu, like, not flu season. That's bad worded choice right now, but at the end of the day, that kind of that dark winter, muggy,
Yeah,
cold, wet. I think we'd all go a little bit more crazy.
I think everybody would be a little more stir crazy for sure.
So, so look, we've got to. I appreciate you taking some time. Obviously, you've got busy lives and people to take care of and things to do, but you took a little time out of the day to talk with us, today. So, first, I just wanted to kind of jump in and see, from the practice point of view, you guys have been through, obviously we're living pandemic. We're living, we've had, you've had cars, crash into the building over the years, tornadoes hit the building. Now you add pandemic to the list of, things to adjust.
Right.
How's the practice? How's how are you guys generally, doing over there? What's changed?
We're doing okay. It's a very different pattern that we're in now. Yeah, we joke that the building is built on an Indian burial ground because the car hitting the building and the tornado were in less than 6 months of each other. Like one had not been repaired before the other happened. So yeah, we had a swarm of bees decide to take up shelter in our building last year. It's, there's always
Oh my
something.
God.
Yeah, there's always something. But the pandemic, that's, a whole nother thing. So we've had to adjust how we practice and how we run the business on the daily.
I was talking with one of the schools here in town, and we were talking about how, they got a notice on Friday and 36 hours later, they had to flip their entire model, of the way they've
Absolutely.
done things. And
Yeah.
I'm certain you guys have done the same. And that's,
Yeah.
kind of the same vein of, we all, as business owners, we try to, hedge our bets, and practice and have plans. And, here's everybody, now in the IT world, you have your disaster recovery plans that people put together and how you continue. But
Right.
I've yet to talk to someone that had pandemic on the list of
Right.
things to plan for.
Right.
So,
We have a hazardous weather plan. We have like a hurricane plan, because you got to have that. But no, we did not have a plan for this, and nor did we ever think we would need to. And I've been practicing for 18 years and never seen anything remotely close to this. So
yeah,
it's not
that's
something you're
amazing.
educated for in medical school either.
Right.
I mean, you learn about it in the history and it's a possibility, but you don't learn how to handle it or think that you're ever really going to see it.
I was talking to someone, the other day we were talking. I remember a few years ago, I was able to see one of my daughter's history books. And it was the first time I'd seen 9/11 was in the history book.
Yeah.
It was like, wait, I remember exactly where I was, kind of the way
Right.
people, my, mother will say she knows where she was when Kennedy was shot, and,
Yes.
the kind of the 9/11. But what a lot of people, we were talking with the the old state capitol, and, one of the things they pointed out was we're literally living right now in the history books.
Yes.
That this will be written about, our grandchildren will be asking us, what was it like?
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
So,
and you were talking about somebody having to flip their plan in 36 hours. We literally had a day where in that day, from the morning to the afternoon, our plan of action changed based on guidelines that came out, like completely. It was
so
crazy.
how do you,
Lunchtime, that was the day that the schools closed. So at lunch, we found out all our kids' schools were closing. So all the staff's freaking out. And then we completely changed how medically we were approaching patients based on new guidelines that came out from the Office of Public Health. It was just like, at the end of the day, we were like, where's the glass of wine?
that I told people, numerous times in the beginning, I'm kind of getting used to it now, but in the very beginning, I think it was first, 3 or 4 weeks, every single night would sit down, pour a drink and go, is this really happening?
Yes.
Like, really, is this for real? Like, they've
Yeah.
shut the schools down,
Yes.
we're sitting at home.
Right.
That's, I got a text that day from someone that said, get ready, announcements coming, it's about to get real.
I did too. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
buckle up, and
Yes.
so, and everybody, I know our staff was looking and spinning around like, what are we going to do? And we've got to
Right.
get our, kids. So
Yeah.
you got a full staff, doctors, nurses,
Yeah.
clerical, everybody over there
Right.
that are worried about, their children,
Yeah.
and their families. But it's y'all's job to worry about everyone's children.
Correct. Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, you had guidelines, coming in, is that as simple as it's like, hey, here's an email, change this up, or
Right. Okay. No, that's a good point. So, we're independently owned. We own the practice. So, one of the hardest things for us about this was that every time guidelines came out, there was no like big power to tell us, okay, this is what you're going to do now. This is what your plan of action needs to be. That was us. We had to figure it out. And we have lots of friends in the medical industry, so we were communicating with them too. But I mean, we were literally coming up to the office on Sunday afternoon, like maybe the second weekend, going, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to manage this? So every time it changed, we had to figure that out. And it was not like, oh, clear cut, here's an email from the Office of Public Health, do this, this, and this. It wasn't like that. It was, here's the guidelines. They're very broad and very vague. And then we had to figure out, what does that mean to us and to our patients and to our practice, and how do we implement it, as
absolutely,
safely as possible.
absolutely. I've been there to the practice. There's the well room and there's
Right.
the sick room.
Right.
This completely blows that,
Absolutely.
out of the water,
Right.
at this point.
Right.
So, and I think that's, important. A lot of people, have talked about, their businesses and how they've been uprooted and how they've had changed. We've talked about it in our business, but we're not in healthcare. We're not taking care of other people. So it's completely different to where if we make a decision, hey, close the office,
Right.
or, go home.
Right.
You guys still, and it's not just, and this is something that I think people realize it after you say it, but it's like, you've got to take care of, patients. Those patients a lot of times are babies, and babies are still being born, so it's still
Right.
got to go into, the hospital. It's got to, it's, when we shut everything down, we didn't shut down labor and delivery. We didn't shut down like, hey, let's put a pause on this, until we sort this out. Life continues to move on, and you guys have had to, kind of step up to that and make changes, obviously.
Yeah, we have so as business owners, we've had to think about the business. We've had to think about our employees. So our employees are in a different place than a lot of businesses, because they don't get to stay home during this. They've got to come to work, and coming to work means coming into sort of the danger zone. So we had to take into consideration that, they all had a lot of concern. Are we being exposed? Is it safe for us to be around our families? Things like that. And we had to make sure that not only was everything we were doing safe for the patients, but also safe for our employees. And we're not frontline like in an emergency room, but we're seeing sick kids, and we had to adjust our plans on how we were going to do that. And it changed every week. The more serious it got, the more stringent we went. So, we do things completely differently now. You talked about the well waiting room and the sick waiting room, which was always our thing that we had completely separate. That's out the window. Everybody stays in the car now. So, we started out where we changed our whole schedule. We moved all our well visits to the morning and all our sick visits to the afternoon, so that there was time to, keep them separated and to clean and disinfect really well. So when we started doing that, that intensified the anxiety of the staff, because I remember at the beginning, every day at lunchtime, we all just started getting a little anxious because we knew, all right, now we're going to see the sick people.
Here's the wave of the sick are coming.
Yeah, so we got to put on our N95s, and we got to, be ready and be, mentally prepared and make sure we're doing everything correctly to stay safe. And then it got to the point where we're like, okay, no, we're wearing a mask for every patient, because now we're learning more about, asymptomatic carriers. And then first it was the well people will come in, but the sick people stay in the car. Now everybody stays in the car. So the office staff, the front desk girls, their job completely changed, because they're not even checking people in. The people are calling when they get there from their car. They're doing their check-in on the phone. And then they're letting us know what kind of car the patient is in and which part of the parking lot they're in, which
You've got
side of
kind
the
of
parking lot.
doctor's office, Sonic, IHOP, kind
Yeah.
of running out,
So they're
car
like
hopping.
editing the patient's appointment and writing white Honda Odyssey, Gulino's side of the building, so that the nurse knows where to go look for that car, because they're actually going out to the car and getting the patient and bringing them in directly into the exam room. So
Oh, wow.
it's very, very different, and it's had to change every week and sometimes every day.
That's amazing. So, but staff, obviously, you guys are helping patients, but staff, morale's good. Everybody's, okay.
We've been trying to make sure, it's definitely very hard at first. We have not furloughed or laid off or let anybody go, but we have had to cut hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because while we are still seeing some sick kids, we're not seeing very many. We're trying to limit that to only those that really need to be seen. And so our numbers of patients that we see a day are cut by at least half, if not more. And so we're closing the office earlier. And so that's cutting their hours. When it's their doctor's day off for the nurses, we have them not come in. And so their hours have been cut a lot too, but we're trying to do whatever we can to keep them and help them. And we've had patients bring us lunch. We've had, people have made masks for us and brought them to us. We've had so many people sew like the homemade masks for us. And so that's helped boost morale. And we're just trying to, lift each other up, stay positive.
Right. Well, so how many doctors you guys have over there now?
So we have 3 pediatricians and then 1 pediatric nurse practitioner.
Wow. That's a lot since I, was over there in the beginning with my little ones.
When you started, it was just 2 of us.
Yeah, it was my oldest. She's now 12. And so that's how long it's been.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've done, 12, and then the boys are 7. So it's amazing, just kind of to watch y'all's story, because I remember when you guys built the practice, I can still remember the day, driving over there and going and actually kind of, for lack of better words, interviewing, which I thought was unique, that I'd never done before, my wife was pregnant and we were shopping. We had never had, it was, literally the term shopping for, kind of a doctor. And a lot of places, we called and they would, they'd give you information over the phone, and then they'd say, go to the website, or, we can send you something. We gave you guys a call and it was like, hey, why don't you come over, and come sit down with us, and let's talk for a while. And I can remember doing that. But it was, we drove out, it was out to Prairieville, and the building was like in the middle of nothing. And then now you go there and it's like you guys knew where everything was going and just kind of said, hey, we're here, you can build around us. So that's amazing. So you guys have been there, helping patients left and right, helping staff, putting everything together. What do you think? Does this change things for you guys, you think, on an ongoing basis? Or
I know that's an interesting question that we haven't quite figured out yet. So like one of the new things that we do every day now that we never ever did before was telemedicine visits. So I've done Zoom visits. I do it by FaceTime. There's an app called Doximity that we use that's HIPAA compliant. We've never done that before, but it was also not covered by insurance before. So it's covered during the pandemic, and a lot of people, I'm sure, love it because you don't have to even come in. And for simple stuff, like a rash or something like that, we can do that. But I don't know if we'll be allowed to continue to do that after, because, again, it was like an emergency coverage thing. The commissioner of insurance, maybe, I think, made a declaration that it had to be covered by insurance when the pandemic started. And so I kind of hope that insurance will recognize the benefit of that and continue to cover that service for when it's appropriate. As I've talked to a lot of my friends that are physicians, we've all enjoyed it. I mean, it was a learning curve for sure. It was kind of awkward at first, but you get to see people in their home environment. The kids are super excited to see your face in their house, and you get to meet their pets, and so there's a lot of neat aspects of it. But I don't know if we'll be able to continue to do that. The other aspect that everybody really likes is the staying in the car. Because even though we had separate sick waiting rooms, there were still people who did not want to come in the sick waiting room. because
Right.
they didn't want to catch whatever else was going around, which I understand, but there's only so much we can do. And so I don't know about that, because I don't know if it's feasible to continue. If we pick back up to our normal rate, it slows us down a lot, which is fine right now because we're slower and we can do that. But I don't know if that part will continue. So there's a few parts of it that we don't know how long we need to stay like this either. We're
Right.
continuing indefinitely in this pattern. We're still not supposed to be doing everything that we do. Even medical care was limited in what functions we could perform. So like I can do well visits that are in need of vaccines because that's considered important. The last thing we need during a pandemic is an outbreak of a preventable communicable disease. So basically we've only been doing well visits for kids under 2 and maybe some 4-year-olds and 11-year-olds. But there's lots of people calling me about sports physicals because they're already starting to ramp up about that. Some have been doing like Zoom tryouts for cheerleading and dance. I've seen that. So now we're trying to determine, maybe, I don't know, does phase 1 with the governor mean that we get to do that again? Some are saying we could already do that now if we consider it time sensitive. It's all interpretation. So
That's one of the questions I had actually was going to ask, not, it wasn't directly to sports, but, we're seeing a lot of, camps. Summer camps are, actually going, hey, we're going to be able to, camp will happen, it looks like, and it's going to be even more important, I think, this year, as people try to get back in and try to get into some rhythm. But these camps, there's physicals that they need, immunization records, there's, shots. It's a million, it's a lot of different things that everybody's kind of in that domino, effect. So
I think we'll probably pick back up on that part soon, getting the sports physicals done. But, there's still a lot of people that don't want to come into the doctor's office right now. And that's totally understandable. And we're okay with that. So I don't know what it's going to look like 2 weeks from now. And that's what's crazy about this.
They say it's, that's what causes the PTSD, the stress, the unknown. I was talking with some people, that's one of the stories, I might have said it before on one of the other shows, but for Navy SEALs, they'll wake them up in the middle of the night and say, we're going to go run and just start running. Like, well, where are we running to? Don't worry, run. How long we run? Don't worry, run. Just keep running. And the stress of not knowing how far, when's the end, how do I pace myself? How do I get through it? That's what gets everyone worked up. If somebody said, hey, you're just stuck like this, till January. Yeah. Traumatic, horrible, but okay, I got an end date, I can prepare. So, but outside of all the, COVID-19 and all those kind of things, what's some of the, what's the story, it was, you guys started this practice how long ago? I was there 12 years.
Right.
So
we actually just had our 15-year anniversary, kind of missed it in this pandemic. I think I thought about it that day and then forgot. May 2nd, 2005, we opened the doors to our practice. And it was just myself and my partner, Dr. West, Ashley West. And we were in a completely different building. We were still in Prairieville. We had gone to medical school together and were good friends during medical school and residency and had both finished and gone to separate practices. I was actually in Laplace with a practice there, and she was in Gonzales at St. Elizabeth. And then we just decided we wanted to do something different. We wanted to kind of decide how things worked and how we ran them and how we practiced. And so we did that. And we were in that, we built our new building that you know about. That was 7 years ago, maybe, I think. So just, wanted to design it ourselves, have the separate sick and well waiting rooms, have the flow that we thought worked best for us, have the fun design and colors. Everybody would say before everything went up around us, you could see us from Airline Highway, and everybody would ask where we were, and we'd be like, that kind of funky looking, colorful building. Like, oh yeah, that's us.
Absolutely. So, it doesn't look like a traditional doctor's office.
It was fun when it was going up because people were trying to guess what it was. They didn't know what it was, and they thought it was going to be like some kind of kids play place or
right.
So it was kind of fun listening to that.
Yeah, so now you guys are kind of nestled hidden back there,
Yeah.
before when it was easy. I remember that's kind of the directions I was giving at first. It's like
Yes.
just drive down Airline until you see this, interesting looking building off on the right,
Yeah.
and that's where you're going. And then it was also a chore trying to get back there,
Right.
because I
Exactly.
couldn't figure that out. It was like, it
Well,
was
that's
interesting
traffic
to say.
engineers for you.
Somebody had a method to the
Yeah.
madness. We'll figure that out one day.
Yeah.
So obviously, things are busy. We don't know kind of where things are, but the practice, obviously, you guys have done a wonderful job. You've been great, for us and the community as well.
Thanks.
What's that driving, how do you find, some of these people, to build that team around you, that helps, that's obviously, your people, would make it, every day. Right.
Absolutely. And it takes time to build that team, because sometimes you get people in there and they don't fit with the team. They don't mesh. They don't buy in. So, I think that the people that we have right now, we have a solid crew who've all sort of bought into what we're saying and who want to be a part of that team. And it's, the drive is just taking care of families, taking care of kids and parents, because that it's much about that as it is about the kids, is taking care of parents too.
Right.
And so it's just, and being a part of their family, in a smaller practice, I don't think you can call our area rural anymore, but I always describe it as a mix of rural and suburban, because you still have that rural aspect. But, our kids go to school with my patients, and they're on sports teams and Girl Scouts and Cub Scouts and all that together. You go to church with people that are your patients. And so we're involved in the community. And we feel a lot of times like we're very much a part of their family. So it's having that family mentality, though. It's a connection that's different sometimes than maybe like more of a corporate practice. And sometimes that can be hard. My kids sort of get annoyed when we go to the grocery store. They're like, every time we go somewhere, we see somebody that I know, and they'll just look at me and be like, is that another patient? Is that another patient? Because they don't know.
Well, it's got to be hard too. I remember, I spent a lot of time in the IT field, and my mother told me one time, when I was kind of kicking into a business, she's like, that's going to be, you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I remember she told me, she's like, it's going to be like a doctor. Every time you run into somebody, it's like, hey, while I've got you, I've got a quick question,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I'm sure you've got to live, you can't, you're not in that kind of profession where it's like, well, I'm not at the office, I can't really, help you, but it's like, I forget everything as I walk out the door. So
Right.
You've got, on those sports teams, and when you're there, you guys, it is a community, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's got can you look at this real quick, or should I, I think.
Or if you're at a sports game and somebody gets hurt, everybody turns and looks at you. You're like, I got it. I want it.
I'm coming in, clock it in. Here we go.
Yeah.
So, or it's the one I remember people used to ask, I'm sure you get, it's like, I don't want to bug you, but, should I come see you about, it's like
Right.
the indirect question.
Yes.
Yes.
But I mean, it's just part of it. So you just, we've kind of accepted that. That's part of, our role. When you're that in the community, that's going to happen.
And I think that's what, for anybody who doesn't necessarily know, I think that's, you say it kind of real passing, just like in the community, but, in this, kind of Southeast Baton Rouge, Prairieville, Baton Rouge, that's, you guys are in the community, you're there, you're public, you're visible. It's completely different than any other practice, that's out there, as far as how you're taking care, how you're interacting, the building, the stories, you guys are on social media, putting information out there for people.
Right.
It's very visible, not probably, not that the other direction's not a bad idea, but some people kind of, are in their building, do their thing, and, they pack it up and go home.
Right.
So, well, I appreciate the time. I think this has been, super helpful. It put a face, behind the building for those who don't necessarily know, who you guys are, but, you're there, they can come see you guys, you're still you're still open,
Absolutely.
Right,
and we're still seeing new patients. I've even done new patients on telemed visits. So, I mean, we'll do what we have to do to help take care of people.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I know everybody else does. Anything that, we're missing, or any, words of wisdom, anything to throw out for anybody? Or
I don't think so. I think just continue to support your local businesses as you can to help them get through this, and everybody be safe and listen to the guidelines and just take care of yourself and enjoy the time at home with your family.
yeah,
I've really
absolutely.
enjoyed it.
We were talking the other day and was told, we've been given the gift of time,
Absolutely.
So use it the best you can, because the odds of this coming back again, and having this much time,
Yeah.
when's the last time, we've had 2 months to kind of not sit at home and do nothing, but we've been extremely busy, but to, work with, and see your family and those kind of things. So I think it's great.
Absolutely.
Well, again, I appreciate it. Love to have you come back, tell us more what's going on down the road. So Definitely. We'll kind of keep in touch and see how things go. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right.